Can you hear me? Okay. Can you try that one more time with speaker? What might help with the what's on? Yeah. Can you try again? Much better. Thank you. Got it. Thank you. We're starting soon. Thank you.
Those handsets. David has a green light. Yes, it's
Still there? There's a message. Are you still there, David?
That's why I like having like this. The skill is like having, but like having one.
I don't know the difference.
No worries.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please. By the way, we have two directors that are here remotely, Cassandra Kimbrell and Dave Rusterholz. Roll call.
All right. Barkley? Here. Bates?
Here.
Kimbrell? Here. Patterson? Here. Rusterholz?
Here. Very good. All right, if you could please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We could now take a moment of silence, please. Thank you. We, the people of Colorado, with profound reverence for the supreme ruler of the universe, in order to form a more independent and perfect government, establish justice, ensure tranquility, provide for common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the state of Colorado. Thank you. Approval of agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
I actually wanted to discuss the agenda.
Okay.
You need a second first.
Second.
To move to amend the agenda, moving sections 6C to 7B. So that we can discuss that a little bit.
Do you have a motion?
I made the motion.
Do we have a second?
Can I ask for you to repeat that? She's asking to change 6D to 7B.
Correct. So moving
6C.
6C, which is just the Title I fund waiver for Columbine, to move that from the consent agenda to 7B to an action item, so we can go over it, explain it to the community a little bit more and discuss it before voting on it.
Do we have a second?
I have a question. If we have a second on that, will we have discussion before a vote? Or can we have discussion now, before the second?
Well, there typically wouldn't be discussion on consent agenda items. We're talking now about approval of the agenda. Ms. Barkley has asked if we could move item C on the consent agenda to discussion.
So that we could discuss it before we vote on it.
Well, I would like to at least discuss moving it to that, to the discussion and information. So yes, I will second having that discussion now, if we want to change that.
Okay, just open for discussion.
So I would like to hear why we want to discuss that, why it's important to have that discussion.
Sure. So I'll explain why I wanted to move it. The consent agenda items are typically routine matters that, approving the minutes or, the list of staff that have retired or resigned or new people that have been hired. Since this is something we're voting on, a waiver to go to the state, I feel that it would be appropriate for us to discuss it, understand the implications of voting yes or no, and understand why you're requesting the waiver.
Mr. Witt, could you give a brief discussion as to why, this has already had discussion within Columbine, and I think it's appropriate that it would be under the consent agenda. Did you have a few words you wanted to say about it?
I guess I would just point out that this is a fairly typical waiver.
Yes.
At 40%, it's automatic. We just happen to be at 37%. So we want to make certain that these funds can be best applied across the school. A survey was conducted with the school, and among those respondents, an overwhelming majority also agreed with this. It's also discussed in the school SAC. So the school wants to do this. And as far as we're concerned, it's basically a routine financial matter of making certain that the funds are available for the school to use as they see fit.
Okay. And as a parent of Columbine students, I was I received the one email communication about the item. But we didn't receive any of the feedback or survey results, so I wasn't sure. And I thought as a board member, we would receive more information. Just curious what the results were, what the SAC had to say about it, and figured the appropriate way to do that would just be to move it to an action item so we could fully discuss it.
My understanding of it, Ms. Barkley, is that at 40% it automatically occurs. We're at 37%, and it is not unusual to ask for that waiver and give us more flexibility in the use of the funds. So I was fine with that. Any other discussion?
Well, I thought that it sounded pretty exciting that we were going to be able to have more flexibility in using those funds if we received the waiver. I personally thought it was something exciting, good news to discuss. So is there any other communication other than what went out to the
so that for the Title I funds?
What was that, Cassie?
Say again, Cassie.
About the Title I funds for the 37% of the student population that would qualify for the free and reduced lunch. So we're asking for the waiver.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very self-explanatory, and we were able to discuss it right now. I don't know what else we would discuss other than we would want to apply for this.
All right, having discussed that, roll call, please.
Well, so are we voting right now on my motion to move it?
You're voting to amend the agenda.
Barkley,
Aye.
Bates,
Nay.
Kimbrell,
No.
Patterson,
No.
Rusterholz.
Well, since we've already discussed it, then there's no sense in moving it, but I would like to see further discussion at some point in time. So that's a no.
A no, okay.
All right, well, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, well, you know what? Thank you. We've got a great group of people here tonight. Something that we thought it would warrant recognition, something that impressed me when I initially heard that the potential scholarships for this year was $2.3 million. I was shocked, and I had to check that, and that is true. Now, a little bit of a variance to that is, there may be a student here that was offered 2 different scholarships. Well, they can only accept one of them. But the fact that there were $2.3 million in scholarships available to our students this year speaks volumes about our student base. We're very proud of you. And it speaks volumes about our teachers that are educating you. So we all thought it important that we would recognize you tonight and show you some appreciation for all of your hard work. Now, what I'm going to do here, there are a number of you that are here. There are some that aren't. We've got another group of people that have received scholarships that we'll call attention to after we've gone through the seniors here. But for starters, I'm going to call out your name and talk about the amount of scholarship. And if you would come up and just stand over here along this wall, then we'll get through this list, and then we can all give you a wonderful round of applause. So, beginning, Talia Davidson. $124,000. Samuel Elsie, $64,000. Noel Golowski, $158,800. Tommy Goldberg, $14,000. Jaden Cohn, $24,000. Kayla Mallett, $6,500. Liam Marney, $192,000. Weston McCorkle, $1,500. Landon Prawl, $31,000. Madeline Randolph, $64,000. Leah Strawmat, $30,000. Dawson Tisdall, $105,000. Lillian Urban, $74,000. This is great. We're gonna run out of wall space. Ian Waltermeyer, 163,000. Kara Wiley, $83,000. Tyson Wilkins, $202,605. And Joseph Schroedlin, $19,000. Okay, I think I've covered everyone that's here. Did I miss anyone?
No, but can I get a group picture of them?
Sure, and I'm going to go ahead and read those who weren't able to be here tonight.
Okay, I'll wait.
Christian Bonnet, $5,000. Michaela Boren, $2,000. If I say this right, Bria Clark, $35,000. Kylie Farwell, $80,000. Acacia Ferran, $60,000. Mia Frater, $106,000. Isaac Friesma, $6,000. Gianna Goss, $92,000. Kylie Gora, $2,000. Catherine Hamlow, $268,000. Caleb Kezior, thank you, $30,000. Aaron Maharis, $704,724. Jackson Murray, $58,000. Erica Taylor, $324,600. Michaela White, $318,000. Kaylin Wilson, $1,500. And Caden Howard, $10,000. Congratulations. You should all be very proud of yourselves. That was a lot of hard work, and we're very proud of you as well. Thank you.
Hey, if I can get the tallest in the back and then the rest is him filling.
May I add just a couple notes?
Yes, sir, you may.
Just a couple of notes while they arrange the photograph here. The first note is, over the last few days, we've gotten a number of additional reports.
Oh, I know.
So the total number of scholarships at this point is 3.5 million that's been reported. That's outstanding. And the other thing to know is, please recognize that these are the scholarships reported to us by families. That doesn't mean we don't have other students with scholarships. Not everybody will necessarily turn in that information, but we're very proud of all of our students.
Oh.
Thank you for coming. We're proud of you. Let me get this next.
Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah. Excuse me. I know, I appreciate it. I didn't do
Yeah, we should have had everyone stay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have some more. We've got 4 students that received scholarships for band camp from the Grand Lodge of Colorado sponsors of the the Colorado Masonic High School Band. As I call your name out, please come up and stand along the wall. Catalina Chess. Kiernan McCarthy. Alexis Bateman. And Sarah Walma. Each of them received a $400 scholarship. So congratulations to all of you. And thank you, Mr. Smith, for bringing this to our attention. Thank you all very much. Congratulations. I got quiet. It's been brought to my attention that I did not get an approval for the agenda. Have I got a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Barkley. Aye. Bates.
Aye.
Kimbrell.
Aye.
Patterson. Aye. Rusterholz.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, now we come to public comment. Public comment. Please be aware that any personnel or individual student matters are considered confidential under Colorado law, and it is out of respect for the law and our employees and students that we require those discussions take place privately in executive session. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes or a total of 15 minutes total for a particular topic. The intent of public comment is to give the Board of Education the opportunity to hear your comments. However, the board will make no decision or take no action on public comments during this meeting. Have we got some public comments?
We do, sir. Just making sure I didn't put an extra number. We're good. We have 12 people that have signed up. Do this random. First one up is number 4, Karen Francis.
Thank you for the 30 minutes. I wish I could stand here and thank you for something, anything that you've done that deserves my thanks, but that's not the case. What I want to discuss to you tonight is about teacher appreciation. We had a perfect example of what our teachers have done with our students for scholarships and their hard work. I want to know what you've done for our teachers for the Appreciation Week. I know what others have done. We've had sweet treats, taco bars. luncheon by parents, ice cream socials, dinner prepared by the students. I'm thrilled to be part of this, letting our teachers know that they are valued, respected, and appreciated. I only wish they had this from the board of directors. With everything that they have been through, the anguish, heartbreak, the lack of respect, total disregard for their profession, and more importantly, the overall attitude of this board towards our teacher is insulting and belittling. Not one of you stood up, accepted responsibility for the ill treatment that you have done to our teachers. You act as they are expendable and have no value. That is absolutely unacceptable. Our teachers deserve so much more. They have continued to be professionals, good teachers, counselors, and they care for our children under hostile conditions, which I may add, you have caused. We're losing valued teachers because of your beliefs, personal agenda, and politics. This is a huge loss to our children, and they're paying the price. This is something you can't put a value on. Years of knowledge, experience, understanding, and knowing the students that they teach. I, for one, have the utmost respect, value, pride, and have the deepest appreciation for every teacher. Some of these children have been here since 1992. They have taught my children since 1992. I have known many of them for over 25 years. They have my full support and admiration. I only wish they had yours. Your lack of words and actions speak very loudly. On another note, after the last board meeting, I apologize, Ms. Sue Patterson verbally attacked a parent and stakeholder. This behavior is unacceptable and shameful. She disagreed with what the parent had to say.
Your time is up.
Too bad. We hear things all the time we disagree with. So, Mrs. Patterson, suck it up, Buttercup.
Next speaker is Carol Greenstreet.
Good evening. I'm compelled to talk about loss and grief. While you celebrate and pat yourselves on the back, so many in this community are lamenting so many losses. For 5 of the district schools, the loss has been great in the past 3 years. It includes, but is not limited to, loss of recognition of an award won by Gateway families and staff, loss of going to middle school for 6th grade, loss of separate buildings for middle school, loss of Gateway Elementary School. These losses will mean the remaining 3 buildings will be crowded and consequently required to give up preschool slots. For teachers, there is a loss of support for struggling students due to staff reduction after grants were declined, loss of professional recognition with little to no collaboration in curriculum decisions, loss of respect by informing them of job status by email, loss of stability with jobs seeming to be gone by the whim of administration, and loss of experienced colleagues requiring increased workloads. For parents, it's been immeasurable struggle to have their voices heard, to decide if they keep their kids in the district or leave. A record number of students choiced out for this year at 554. Loss of stability and staffing at most schools, especially for students with special education needs. Loss of confidence that the Board of Education cares about their concerns or even knows what's going on in the schools. For the students, while the current staff have been diligent to ensure quality instruction takes place, there is still loss. For so many kids, school is a place of stability. They have lost support with fewer staff addressing their educational needs. They have lost their school, and so many have lost their favorite teachers. Many kids struggle with loss of friends who are going to school in another district or have moved away. We have a near complete turnover in administration and lost over 36% of our staff in 1 year, with more this year, and so many students. As a larger community, we've lost funding and opportunities for our families, faced the questioning of the sales tax, and watch our district fund balance drop dramatically for the first time in over a decade. We have lost friends. We have lost community. We have gained a school district that appears to be completely controlled by a superintendent and a lawyer who have absolutely no connection to our community and nothing to lose. Everything they put forward is rubber stamped by our elected officials without discussion. Aware of the ever-growing rift, they make no efforts to bridge the gap and bring the community together. How you make changes matters. It tears down or builds community. It feels torn to shreds by many in the 5 schools. What does compassion look like from this Board of Education? What does it look like to grieve with those who are grieving?
Speaker is it Sharon Langhart? Is that correct? Did I pronounce it correctly? Is she?
Well, that's definitely a tough act to follow. What I have is questions. I've gone to meetings, I spent the day at Merit, and I have questions. The first being, the number of students that are in our community that are no longer part of the school. At our last board meeting, we were told that we were going to promote and work to bring the students back into our school district. I saw the ad. Sorry, but no Panther. It was slop. And I'm an amateur. So, being upset about the Panther, I'm terrified of here. I'm not a public speaker. Worried about the Panthers. Okay, because I've been part of the Panther group for 30-some years, and it looks like I've got another 17 to go. I decided to check into the NCAA. Has anybody here submitted the new school program to the NCAA? I spent an hour and a half going from legislature to Indiana and all the way around. American Birthright has not been approved for 24, 25, or had anything submitted. If I'm wrong, you can correct that. Then I, been really worried about the equity in the schools. So I did a schematic with taking Gateway, the amount of preschoolers, kindergartners, and everything else, and then took off a flat 15% of them because they're leaving, Instead of promoting our school district and helping us, they're leaving. And if we're equal within 15% to the classroom count at Merit, then the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders should be back at the middle school with Gateway closed. And that would allow for more than 2 classes. I realize that one of the board members went to Columbine, but they never talked to the teacher. 30 students is too many. I went to Merit today, and 16 students was a lot with their programs. It was a beautiful program. And I'm not knocking Merit. What I'm knocking is a board that has no say into Merit except to give them money, not making sure that it's equitable for the children in the Woodland Park School District. Then, core. And may I continue? I have 2 other issues. I have they're minor issues.
Quickly, please.
Okay, I would like to see the busing, land care, softball field, and food service for Merit. I want to see it in their budget because I don't see it. I would like to know about the ESSR funds. even though we've given them to merit, these are federal and state funds, and if they request those back, we're talking almost $600,000 that this school district is going to have to pay. So these are questions, and the reasons I'm asking them here is because I'm saving a whole bunch of money, because if I core it, it has to go to one person, to our superintendent, to our attorney, back to our superintendent before the board ever gets a question. So maybe publicly stating these, the board can actually answer them. Thank you.
Next speaker, Shannon Valaro.
Glasses on so I can see. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to address the board tonight. I would like to start by expressing my gratitude to the Ute Pass BOCES for hosting the Teller County Resource Fair on Monday night. The fair was full of valuable information that our special education families need to know about. The fair showcased various resources such as SWAP, Faithful Hearts Equine Learning Center, Bright Behavior, A Cognitive Connection, Peak Potential Behavioral Services, Disability Connections, DRE, Dungarvan, Colorado, the ARC Pikes Peak region, and the Special Olympics Colorado Southeast region. Unfortunately, the turnout for the fair was low. In the future, the Woodland Park School District could help the BOCES by informing families and including information about the events in their newsletters. I would like to draw attention to the Special Olympics Colorado Southwest region, which was also present at the fair. This organization offers sports and unified programs for students with special needs, and I believe it would be a valuable addition to our school. I suggest we explore the possibility of bringing the Special Olympics to Woodland Park for the 2024-25 school year. I'm willing to facilitate a meeting between the representatives from Special Olympics and Woodland Park School District to discuss this further. This program has the potential to spark interest in pursuing a special education degree among students who could return to Woodland Park to teach. I would remind everyone that tomorrow is the middle school family game night. Some families have been working hard to make this event a success, and there are still about 20 spots open for volunteers as of 4 p.m. today. If any of you have time, your help would be greatly appreciated. Lastly, could you please let us know if there have been any decisions made regarding the special education classrooms or programs? Specifically, I would like to know where the PLACE program that was previously at Gateway will now be located. Additionally, do we know where the special education classrooms in the secondary building will be located and where the middle school resource room will be located? Thank you.
Next speaker, Joni Miller.
Good evening. I've been sending emails this week to recognize the amazing teachers in my children's lives. Shout out to Mrs. Howell, my son's amazing 5th grade teacher at Summit, and to my daughter's hardworking kindergarten teacher, Ms. Stearnsfield. I could go on and on about these two, as I'm in constant contact with them since they have my youngest. As for the 8th grade, many teachers that my son gets to learn from. I asked him which of them stands out. He said without skipping a beat, they are all really great and super nice people. I can't really pick a favorite, Mom. I thought this statement was remarkable. So also a shout out to the 8th grade teachers at WPMS, Mr. Aragon, Mr. Benjamin, Ms. Rucker, Ms. Garcia, Ms. Hand, Ms. Warner. Thanks to all these great people and what they do. I do hope the BOE takes to heart what stellar people are working at WPSD this week, as it is Teacher Appreciation Week. Our teachers put up with so many things we all take for granted. Everything from exposure to constant sickness and putting their own health at risk. Naughty kids, rude parents who don't always treat them so kindly. All of the people issues. And there's a possibility of school shootings. That's probably in the back of their minds, knowing how to protect themselves and their students in any weird situation that pops up. There's so much these brave people deal with. I think we as parents and all administrators should honor them. You all have an incredible opportunity to honor them the most of any of us. What will you do? How will you communicate appreciation this week? I look forward to seeing what you do. Thanks.
The next speaker, Andrew Heitzelman.
Hello, I have more questions as well. First of all, why was the middle school targeted for Merritt to take over? It seems like a lot of the parents at Summit love Kenneth Witt and the school board, so wouldn't it have been better to take over that school instead of ruining two of our schools? Merritt was brought here to be another option, right? So if we're making options, isn't it counterproductive to take away two options just for one? The term consolidating seems to get thrown around a lot. But why are we consolidating when Woodland Park is growing? Like right now, there's 5 neighborhoods being constructed as we speak. Why are all the expenses being scrutinized except Kenneth Witt's salary? Why was Kenneth Witt allowed to write his own contract? And why weren't all the school board members part of that? If we are consolidating to save money, why have you thrown away a perfectly good learning curriculum that was already paid for just to waste more of our money on one that wasn't even discussed with anyone? And why is Gateway being forced currently to throw away more curriculums, books, and graphic novels? Huge waste of money. What is your plans for the traffic problems we will most definitely have next year now that you've decided to cram everybody into a smaller space? Why do you not listen to what us citizens want? It seems like whatever we say doesn't matter when the chain of command shows we should be the ones making the calls. You are supposed to be representing us. Why are suddenly all of our special needs programs getting neglected and not taken care of like they should? Why does Kenneth Witt get to do and say whatever he wants? Aren't you supposed to be his boss and not the other way around like he thinks? Could I become superintendent? I won't require a ridiculous salary. I live here in Woodland Park, so I won't need an extra travel expense, and I will be full-time. Why have all the false numbers and core reports that have been altered been questioned by anybody? Do any of you realize that since Witt has been here, all he has done is destroy, disrespect, and split our community? Kenneth Witt is a disrespectful bully that has no right being our superintendent. Shame on you, Kenneth.
The next speaker is Crystal DeFabio.
Hi, so yeah, like she said, Crystal DeFabio, I kind of put the motto in, I've got skin in the game. So I've got 2 Columbine students, 1 middle school, 1 high school. And common theme tonight is teacher appreciation. And I could not start this without giving a huge shout out. You can walk into any one of our schools, you deal with the front desk. They meet you with a smile. All of our crossing guards are amazing. And each teacher, right? I've got a student that passed a grade level because he did so well. I mean, they're just simply amazing. And it doesn't stop there, right? So we've got bus drivers that come on their own to watch all of our sporting events. We've got, I mean, just this group of people that support everyone. I've got multi-sport athletes. Every coach is supportive and out there, and we run summer camps and after-school programs and open gyms. And all of this is possible because of these amazing people. And I want to say thank you to them first. Second, like this is broken, right? And everybody feels that. And I'm sure when you guys leave, you feel that too. I would never present a problem without presenting a solution. I know you guys come up with like your board, like agenda, maybe a week in advance. How about 2 weeks in advance? We have a community forum. You sit down with us and you ask us, you say, what's going on? What's going on with your athletes? What's going on with your students that are struggling? What's going on with your students that are succeeding? You know, talk about the library, talk about funding, talk about staffing, talk about the amazing nurses that give out my kids Band-Aids every single day. Like, let's talk about that, but let's meet and have a discussion so we can help you come up with the agenda for the things that really matter to us, right? To the students. And I would even challenge you, invite the students, right? Let them know how government should look. Let them have a voice. Let them show up and say, hey, actually, this is pretty cool. And we like the fact that we get pizza on Thursdays, you know, but we don't do that. Instead, every time we show up, we read the agenda, blanket statements, they aren't even full sentences. We have no idea what's going on. And then we all leave angry and it's just not working. I don't know, you guys don't feel awesome, right? I mean, that can't be. I want to just give a shout out for Keegan. She answers every single one of my questions, every single one, always. David, I know you are remote. Thank you for walking up and shaking my hand and asking, why are you here? And that way I can tell you, because I have 4 students here. I'm a first grader, man. I am stuck here for a long time. You know, I want some kind of rapport. I want you guys to be able to hear, like, some things are working. Look at the scholarships. Some things are working beautifully. But the community's torn apart right now. So just, you know, I'd help organize, I'd buy snacks. But, you know, just a community forum, I think, can go a long way. Thank you.
Next speaker, Lorraine Merle.
Thank you for your time, just in case I forget when I leave. There's been a topic that I've wanted to bring up that I feel is really positive. And I've been attending for maybe about 2 years. I don't think anybody even knew I was in the room for the first 6 months because that's what I did. I came, I observed, I paid attention, I did not judge. I didn't read the newspaper. I just wanted to hear. And as it progressed, you know, I had to process a lot. But the topic that I wanted to talk about for the last year and a half was such a great story. My father, if I have my math right, he'd probably be 103 now. So I don't think anybody can relate if you're not 103 right now. But he started writing stories of his life. He never rode, he never drove a car until he was 30. He only rode a horse. So it's a lot of stories about that. But I picked out one, and I know he was hoping I'd put those stories into a book. I'm not dead yet, so, you know, maybe I'll get that done. But one was about him going into his junior year of high school. And not what he went through, but his life story, that, you know, the school let him out in April so he could go on this cattle drive, because I understand that's just what they did, and that's what all the stories, but I wanted to read this story, but every meeting I went to, there was always so many hot topics, like what these people are bringing up tonight, and I thought this story is so insignificant. And at the end of the year, I don't think really anybody would care. And the story is going to take longer than 3 minutes. And I know to some folks, the world's going to end if you go over the 3 minutes. And I get that, you have to have a time limit. So I'm going to share that story. It'll probably take 2 or 3 meetings. Hopefully I'm lucky enough to get pulled out of the basket. But I think there's some people, I wish I could have talked about it when this room was full of students, so they could see how times are so different and the schools are so different now compared to when my father, when he was going into his junior year. So this fall, I think it'd be appropriate, and I hope some folks maybe will enjoy that story. And I'm hoping some of these hot topics will simmer down, because for me, I'm going to stay, and I'm going to be supporting everyone that can stay, and I will support the parents, the teachers, and everyone that could sign up for next year. Thank you to all.
speaker, Cynthia Bear.
Good evening, you guys. Thank you for all you do. You work really hard. This isn't an easy job. And you make a commitment that surpasses what a lot of us make for our children that aren't even your children. So I really appreciate you doing that. I think that a lot of times your job is a thankless job. And so I want to be here to tell you thank you for all your hard work and dedication. And I know that your heart is in the right place because you care about the children. I want to say that we do have an outstanding special ed program in Woodland Park. I used to work at the middle school and at the high school with the special ed department, and the students and the rapport that they have with the students who are in special ed is phenomenal. And I've worked in other states around the country in this capacity, and it's bar none better than I've seen anywhere else. So I want to give a shout out to our SPED department. I also would like to apologize and repent. And I feel like I need to repent for being a little bit too nice and placating people that have been against this board. And I feel like I've been appeasing them and saying we need to reach across the aisle. We need to try to find middle ground, and we need to do what's right for the children. We do need to do what's right for the children, but we need to realize that some people do not understand right and wrong, and they have a mixed up, skewed view of truth and right and wrong. There is an absolute truth. It is not okay to do what people are doing to children in our country at this time. And it's very real in our community, even though people say, oh, we're not doing that in Woodland Park. It is pervasive. So thank you for the members of this school board who are taking a stand against these things. And I repent for not being more adamant about it in the past. I'm drawing a line in the sand and I'm standing and I'm saying there's no more placating. There's no more bending over backwards to reach across the aisle to appease and make people happy who bring in the likes of Logan Davis to try and create unity in our community. But all they want to do is tear our community apart. They are liars. And there is a nice toasty place in a lake of fire for liars. I'm just telling you, that's what's coming. We need to stand for truth, and you guys are doing that. I applaud you. You work hard. The problems in this school with losing children has been going on for decades, which is documented in the newspaper article I wrote a couple of months ago. It has nothing to do with this board. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. Keep it up.
Next speaker is Jade Colgan.
Not a fan of public speaking, so I'm going to push through this the best I can. I have two kids in school here. My daughter goes to Merritt, and my son goes to Woodland Park Middle School. He has special needs. So I find myself in a unique position. I'm a big fan of Merritt, what they're doing. My daughter's thriving. And I like what's happening with my son's special needs class. Ms. Warner's doing a great job. He is happy. He's doing really, really well. We came out of Broadmoor District 12 when we moved up here, which is a nationally recognized district. They have really good schools, really good teachers. I kind of thought that was the norm, I guess, for a little bit. And I was, a little surprised when I realized how many people send their kids to Colorado Springs from here, or Manitou. And I did do that when I first moved up to Teller County. I drove my kids for 2 years until the travel time became too much and we didn't have room for anything else in our lives, no extracurricular stuff, no therapy. I don't have a problem with Merritt expanding. I don't have a problem with the middle school being moved to the high school. I don't have a problem with sixth grade going back into elementary. The only issue I have is the space that the special needs kids are occupying currently in the high school. There's no windows, there's no fresh air. There's a padded room, like a padded closet, with a locked door. I don't even know if that's legal anymore. So I implore you guys to take a tour of the special needs space. It is a quarter mile away from the other students, from where their classes are. And the loophole here is that these rooms, although they seem to be well furnished and equipped, these rooms are by their specials. But that's not keeping them with general population. So my request is, while you guys are busy rearranging everything and finding new spaces and places for students, I want my kid to have a room with windows. You can't expect these kids to sit in a room for 6 years, 6 hours a day, with no fresh air and no sunlight. Like that's, and I'm looking into the legalities of this as far as what state and federal requirements are. And I can't say that this has been done on purpose. I think it's always been this way and has just sort of flown under the radar. But I took a tour last week, and I think if you saw what I saw, this would be kind of a no-brainer. I did see some other spaces that are being maybe underutilized for how lovely they are. One of those is the computer lab, with all the blinds closed so they don't get glare on the screens. So I feel like there's also the weight room. I know I'm going over just a little bit, but I feel like there's some spaces that could be easily swapped out with ease. Like it would be an easy fix, you know, and that's it. Thank you.
Next speaker is Allison Avery, is it Wallenhoff?
Yeah, sorry. Hello, my name is Allison Avery Wallenhoff, and I might be going to hell when I'm here now, and so I'm going to use my time. I'm a parent in the district, and I would like to speak to you regarding something on the agenda tonight, and that is House Bill 1039. I was an art teacher for 13 years, and I had the privilege to work with students from all walks of life. House Bill 1039, as you know, that's on the agenda today, requires each school board to adopt written policies prohibiting discrimination on the basis of gender expression, which includes the use of students' chosen name. I know that parental rights is one of your core tenets in decision-making, and this parent is pleading with you to draft your policy in such a way as to protect one of our most vulnerable populations. If a parent is to be informed of this name change, please break the news with a counselor in the room. Many students, even those with supportive families, are afraid of their parents' reactions when they come out. I have had experience with this in the past, and I have found it extremely advantageous to have a counselor present when parents are informed of this decision. My utmost concern, and your utmost concern, should be student safety. It can only help the student to have a professional with training present to help facilitate this discussion. We do not live in a homogenous society. One religion is not better or more moral than another. One kind of sexual orientation is not better or more moral than another. Our moral compasses are different because we and our students are all different. It all comes down to the golden rule. Treat others as you would want to be treated. Do no harm. Do not make decisions out of fear and hate, but choose love. Do no harm. I will close with some statistics presented by the Trevor Project, an organization committed to preventing suicide in LGBTQ plus children and youth. 46% of transgender and non-binary young people seriously considered attempting suicide in this past year. More than 1 in 10 LGBTQ plus young people attempted suicide in this past year. Rural communities are even more vulnerable to suicidal ideation and attempts. Is belief really worth the price of even one child you disagree with? One more statistic before I leave you. LGBTQ plus young people who reported living in accepting communities attempted suicide at less than half the rate of those who live in unaccepting communities. My last comment will be directed at LGBTQ plus youth and community members who may be struggling. There are people in this community who love and support you just as you are, no strings attached. No need to change or hide. Our next Celebrating Diversity meeting will be next Wednesday, May 15th, from 3:45 to 6 p.m. in the library. You can drop in at any time. There will be art supplies, snacks, and a supportive community. Thank you for your time.
So I just want to thank the board for the work that you have done in this district this year. You've made some great progress in changing to make our students, and I don't know if they're more successful than they had been, but our students have been successful this year. And I want to thank the times that you have spent during the meeting acknowledging the teachers' and students' achievements, and it doesn't matter how many times you acknowledge it. There are people in this room that are just going to disagree with what you say or do. You have gone to city council meetings and acknowledged the successes in each school, and I just have seen a growth in this board in acknowledging and saying good things about the achievement of our students and teachers. I know that as a retired teacher, teaching is one of the most difficult jobs, I would say, up there with first responders, because teachers are on the front line every day, and their workload is exceedingly and abundantly overwhelming. So, you know, the fact that you acknowledge the achievements that have been made is really, really important. And I would like to see more of that in the future. I thank you that you are committed to improvements, and you have done and made hard decisions as far as changing things to make these improvements. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for a great year. Thank you for the hard work. And this may not be church, but we as Christians are the church, and I am going to pray and lift you up to the Lord. So Father, I just thank you for the school board. I thank you that even though there are those here that don't want to hear about you, that we have the freedom to express our thankful and gratitude for what you have done in leading this school board and these teachers and these students. And we just thank you that this is a good place, and those that refuse to believe it are just out of luck on their own. In Jesus' name. Amen.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do we have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Barkley. Aye. Bates.
Aye.
Kimbrell.
Aye.
Patterson. Aye. Rusterholz.
Aye.
Motion approved. Okay, next item on the agenda is the resolution concerning House Bill 1039. I'm going to read it. Whereas this Woodland Park School Board is duly elected by the families of Woodland Park and Teller County and authorized by the Colorado Constitution with control of instruction in Woodland Park Public Schools. Whereas the Woodland Park School District RE2, located in Teller County, Colorado, is committed to providing free and appropriate public education in Woodland Park that affords every student an opportunity to realize their full potential in academic achievement. Whereas ensuring a safe and positive instructional environment for students attending public education in Woodland Park School District is a priority for this board and administration. Whereas ensuring parental involvement in educational and health decisions is a priority for this board and administration. Whereas the mission of public education must be education, not indoctrination on social issues. Whereas the legislature in April of 2024 passed House Bill 24-1039, an act concerning non-legal name changes for students in schools, and placed in affirmative duty on the public school to use a student's chosen name, where chosen name is defined as any name that a student requests to be known as that differs from the student's legal name, to reflect the student's gender identity, under threat of discrimination charges should an educator fail to do so. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of Woodland Park School District. Number one, Woodland Park School District authorizes and directs the superintendent to draft an administrative policy regarding students' chosen names to reflect the student's gender identity, wherein clarity is maintained concerning when a student has chosen such a non-legal name to reflect the student's gender identity, so the district may comply with the law and in such a manner as to avoid disruption of the learning environment. Number two, the policy shall ensure that students' parents or guardians, as primary decision makers in the education of their children, are informed of the student's name choice and the obligation of any Colorado public school to honor it pursuant to the passage of House Bill 1039 into Colorado law. And lastly, number three, the policy shall ensure a documented process is implemented at the school administrative level to avoid confusion concerning what name is in effect at any given time, to avoid frequent disingenuous name changes, to avoid inappropriate names, and to ensure the academic learning environment is not disrupted by management of this process. Any questions from the board on that?
Well, we're gonna have discussion on it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me get a motion. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I have some questions.
Okay.
So first, I just want to say, obviously, the House bill does require that we implement and adhere to a policy. We need to create a written policy for our school district. So obviously, we do need to have something in writing. So, first that. But I do have a couple of questions about the way that the resolution was written. And the first question I had was about actually who wrote the resolution that was put in the packet today.
I can't answer that.
Maybe Ms. Haven, who sent you the resolution to include it in the packet?
I mean, I think it was derived from a number of sources.
It came to me on a piece of paper. It's not through any. Well, it's part of the packet process. I get lots of information from different people.
Okay. So. Mr. Witt, do you know who wrote the resolution?
I drafted a good bit of it from consultation with legal and discussions among a number of school districts in dealing with this issue.
Oh,
Because I was thinking historically that the board members together, and then usually the president would draft resolutions.
There's no regulation about who drafts resolutions. It's before you, you can consider it, revise it, approve it, do as you will as a governing body.
I think it's important to have sought out attorneys' feedback as well as people from other districts. I don't have the wherewithal to be able to write something like that, but I do have the ability to read it and discern it and approve of what is written, yes.
So then my second question was in section 2. It states that we will inform the parents of the student's name change. And again, as a parent, you know, I would want to know what's happening in my child's life. I really would consider it kind of a failure. I would be very sad if my child felt that they couldn't come to me and tell me about this. But the truth of the matter is that there are students out there who do not feel comfortable telling their parents. And I think if it's a situation where we believe that's what's happening and they're comfortable with letting the entire school know, and basically everybody else that they know, but they're not comfortable telling their parent, we should really be asking why. You know, what's happening in that child's life that they don't feel safe telling their parent when they do feel safe telling everybody else in their lives. And so much like we had some of the speakers say, my suggestion was that we make sure that we are informing the parents in person. So we're not just sending out an email. I think that would be a very bad way to handle that. And making sure that we do have some form of counselor who would be able to help if the parent is upset and make sure we are keeping the children safe.
Understood.
So I don't know if that would require an amendment to the resolution or if at the end after you've drafted this, will the board be able to look at it again to approve it before it goes into effect?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will approve, and we'll have a chance to go over that and see if it meets the needs.
Okay, excellent. And then the third section I had, or third question I had was in section 3, and it says we're going to avoid inappropriate names. And again, I'm sure we've all met high school students who would think it's like hilarious to change their name to Poop or something. So I totally agree that it's necessary that we have something in place. But I do wonder who is going to be involved in the decision making and what an appropriate name is and how that's done. And then if the student disagreed with the decision, if there's some sort of appeal process.
I think it would be pretty easy to discern an inappropriate name. I mean, I have heard some examples of some names that would be wholly inappropriate. But there is not currently a plan as to who's going to decide if it's appropriate or not. I think common sense would rule in that case. Do you not?
I would hope so.
Yes, Ms. Kimbrough.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but there have been incidents from prior educators where students have used or tried to use inappropriate names and found it to be a joke. So I understand why that was a provision in the resolution, as well as, you know, making sure that we are informing parents, as parents are the guardians of their children, and we're here to educate them. And so allowing them to know, much like the mental health services is that, you know, we offer, we make sure that parents have the right to know first before anything with their children.
Thank you.
Okay. So I agree that we need to have something in place to make sure that doesn't happen. But I'm just curious, you know, there could be an instance where a student chooses a name, and I want to make sure that we write the policy so we're not violating the House bill, and not have, you know, and having somebody telling a student that their name is inappropriate when it's what they're choosing, and then it turns into a discrimination case. So it's to protect the student and the school that I'm bringing this up.
I agree, and I won't say some, but there are examples of people that would turn this into silliness.
Sure.
And we've got to prevent that.
Right. That's why I said that part first. But
Mr.
I want
Witt?
to know it should be in the policy, what the procedure will be. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. You guys thought?
Yeah, I'm just commenting. We haven't drafted a policy, so it won't have that level of procedure, but
Yeah.
you'll have it.
Right, yeah, I didn't expect you to have an answer right now, just that we make sure it's in the policy when we write it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mick, can you hear me all right?
I can.
I think that for the past several years, I've been saying at least, if it's happening on the coast, we're going to see it work its way in here. And here we see being forced on Woodland Park, something that many never expected, people thought would never happen. And I think we would all agree, regardless of the side of the political aisle we sit on, there are very bad laws. And I believe that House Bill 1039 is a very bad law for many reasons. The first one is the family. Now, we heard somebody get up and speak passionately about, not telling mom and dad about coming out of the closet or whatever. That, but the family, not the individual, is the building block of our society. And this bill is one more step at undermining our families. It bypasses parents' leadership, the leadership of their family, and it infringes on their rights to raise their minor children. And I don't see that we can tolerate this at all. Our teachers, I think about our teachers, they're being told that they must immediately refer to the child by his assumed name. Well, I've got a question about that. What if the teacher finds this in violation of his or her virtues and values and morality or their worldview? I know that there are some that will align very quickly with it and find no problem with it. But what about the many teachers in our school that do find it a problem? Are we supposed to tell our teachers now, you need to leave your integrity at the classroom door? And I also think of this, how will implementing this bill affect other students that find this terribly offensive? And think about the child too. How will accepting this bill help this child who is taken up with this social psychosis? I don't know what else to call it. I mean, it's contagious. I understand that there are truly people who are confused with their sexual identity.
That'll make you happy.
Why do I find this offensive? Besides the reasons that I've already mentioned, it's a violation of my rights and the teacher's rights and everyone else's rights. It violates my virtues and values and my biblical worldview. It also violates my sense of reason. We're saying that House Bill 1039 requires our teachers to accept a person's assumed gender and name. But since we're a public school and we are entrusted to teach our children facts, I just want to know, is there any scientific evidence that a boy can become a girl? Yes. I haven't seen any. I haven't even heard of any. And until I see this kind of evidence that doesn't change the definition of what it means to be a male or a female, a boy or a girl, I urge our district to oppose and defy this destructive bill. I can't say it strongly enough. I want a resolution that is strong and says, no, we will not force this on our teachers, but we will be compassionate to the child who truly has an issue with this.
Thank you, Mr. Estrellas. Anyone else? I would just make one comment. Keegan, you make a very good point. I mean, it is important to this board that the parents have first first rights of their own children. I have confidence that if there were a situation that were to come up where there are clearly flags on the field with a student, that there would be some actions or precautions taken in that process to not have this turn into a hostile situation between the child and the parents. None of us want that. But we'll work through this. We'll work through this policy, administrative policy. We'll take a look at it and try to cover all of these issues. But first and foremost, parents do come first in the raising of their children. And unfortunately, I mean, it's the old story. Well, if it would save one life, is it worth doing? You hear that all the time. Every situation is different, and we all make an attempt to remedy that, but it's a difficult situation, no question about it. Any other comments? All right.
My only last question was when, do we have like a due date when we'll have a draft?
There has not been a day set for that, no.
Okay.
Based on how the vote goes tonight, then the action will begin. Okay, do I have a motion to approve of the resolution?
You've already got a motion.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Barkley,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Kimbrell,
Aye.
Patterson,
Aye.
Rusterholz.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. Discussion and information, preliminary budget, and scheduling of a public hearing. Ms. Ryan?
Okay, so today we're gonna go over the preliminary general fund budget. We're gonna start off by talking about total program revenue. So there's two pieces to this. There's the funded pupil count, and then there's the per pupil rate. So in the top section, you will see our total funded pupils year over year. And this is based on a 5-year average. And that is used because of our declining enrollment. It helps soften the impact. So you'll see for fiscal year 25, the average is 1,964 pupils, which includes 479 for the charter school. That number is their actual estimated enrollment. So if you look at the charter school numbers for fiscal year 23, 297 and then 398, they are funded on their actual October count. So they do not benefit from the 5-year average, although they contribute to the 5-year average because of their increase of enrollment. So they actually help the district, even though the district schools benefit from it. Any questions on that? Okay.
Ms. Ryan, if I could just point out one thing. I
Yeah.
believe these are FTEs, not actually student count. Is that
That's correct. It's full-time equivalent.
Just so everyone understands, this isn't total number of students.
Right.
This is half-time for half-time students.
Right.
So
And
total
the-
number of students is higher.
Right, the online students only are half of a student in this count.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so next we have the per pupil rates, and you'll see that it's increasing year over year. The last 2 years, almost by $1,000. And so the total pupil funding includes property tax revenues, specific ownership tax, and state share. Now, the property tax revenues does not include the $1 million we receive from mill levy override. So that's on a separate line item in our budget now. It was always combined in here. So when anyone would go to the CDE website and try to compare numbers, they couldn't tie out because when we receive property taxes, it's included in there. So this was an easier way. We split it out so that you can clearly see the total program funding excluding the mill levy override. So the charter school amount for fiscal year 25 is 5.3 million, and that is using their 479 funded pupil count, FTE, times the per pupil rate, $11,243. Okay, and then the same thing with the district, but it is using the 5-year average, 1,485, to get to the 16.7 million. So you can see year over year, the district's revenue is decreasing 853,000. Even though the rate's going up, it's because the funded pupils is declining. Sorry. Any questions on that?
Yeah, so there, because we're using that 5-year average there for the district, there is a possibility that the actuals could be lower than this and our budget will be affected by a lower number.
So if actuals were used this year or for fiscal year 25, our revenue would be $1.3 million less. Is that what you're
Director
asking?
Barkley, the answer to your question is no. They actually fund us on the average. So regardless of our actuals, they fund us on
The
the
state
average.
does.
Yes.
Gotcha, for the per pupil, gotcha.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
So they fund us on the average. It could be a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, or 5-year average, or our actuals. So whatever is the highest out of all those. So right now, the 5-year is the higher, so that's what they're funding us with. Eventually, it'll be that the average is equal to our actual, probably in a year or two. So. I know this one has a lot of numbers, but you go to the next slide. I'll kind of walk you through the layout first. So across the top, we have fiscal year 22 audited actual, fiscal year 23 audited actual, fiscal year 24 estimated actual. So that's basically our revised budget with some updates on current figures. And then we have fiscal year 25 preliminary budget. And then the last column is a year over year change from fiscal year 24 to 25. Okay, so then on the left column, we have the total revenue, which includes revenue that we receive on behalf of the charter school. The next section is the charter school flow through. So this is where we distribute the charter school revenue on a monthly basis. And then finally, we have the district revenue. So that's the total revenue less the charter school to come up with the revenue the district has to allocate to their expenses. Okay, so then in the year-over-year change column, you will see that year over year, we're increasing 1.5 million. However, if you exclude the capital projects allocation, we're actually only increasing 470,000 total revenue, entire district, including charter. Okay, so next we have the charter school portion of the revenue that we receive on their behalf. Again, you're going to see the total program amount that we talked about in the prior page, 5.3 million. And then they're allocated also the mill levy override, local sales tax. And then they are included in our applications for state and federal grants that are through the general fund. So when we apply for those, we include the charter school. We are not allocating any of the district's funds to them. They have their own portion of the applications. And then the last line under charter school is services provided to charter school. So this is what the district charges them. So we have buildings and grounds maintenance, utilities, property insurance, and technical support are the main drivers of that. So you will see that that is increasing year over year, 103,000. And that is mainly due to them taking over or utilizing the entire middle school building, because now they are paying for all of the utilities. So before they were paying based on square footage. So now last year they paid 80,000. Now they're paying 180,000 for utilities. Excuse me. Any questions on that so far? Okay, and then we get down to the district revenue. So again, when you look in total, year over year, 202,000 decrease in revenue. However, if you exclude the capital projects allocation, we are decreasing $900,000.
And why are we pulling out capital project allocation?
Just because that's not true revenue we're receiving. That's just because we're not allocating anything to capital projects in 2025. It's not a true savings. If we're just looking at revenue we're receiving $900,000 less. Okay, so then our fund balance year over year is not changing. Our ending fund balance from fiscal year 24 that we're in to the budget next year. So basically we have a balanced budget. Our expenses are equal to our revenue. So next I want to talk about fund balance. You'll see in fiscal year 22, we started at 9.9 million. And prior to that, the fund balance averaged at 9 million. So then in 2022, we had an increase of $1.2 million in revenue, and the expenditures did not increase along with that. So our balance increased. And then in 2023, the board made a decision to develop a capital projects fund to focus on implementing a facilities master plan for site and building improvements and security. Another driver of the decrease in fund balance that year in fiscal year 23 was the 8.5% salary increase. So prior to this, we had 2 years of no salary increase, and then in 2022, a 3%, and then in 2023, the 8.5. That brought the base teacher salary up to $40,000. So before that, the base teacher was like $35,794. And then in fiscal year 24, there was another 5% salary increase and a $1,500 bonus for all returning employees and new employees. So now the base teacher's salary is at $42,000. And then also another additional $687,000 was allocated to capital projects. So if you compare the beginning fund balance in fiscal year 22
to our ending fund balance that we're projecting for next year, the difference is $2.2 million, which is basically what we allocated to capital projects. Any questions on that?
Do I take that to mean we are not budgeting any sort of salary increase for teachers or staff this year?
So this year does include a modest increase.
Oh, good. Are we allowed to know what that is?
We don't usually say it at this point. This is a preliminary.
We don't have the detail worked out yet.
Okay, but it's budgeted in this budget here.
It is reflected in the budget, and we're trying to work out the scale now.
Okay. That's good.
Okay, and then this just shows the revenue to kind of show what percentages each category makes up. So you can see most of our revenue is from the state and then local, excluding sales tax. So both of those pretty much are our total program. So those amounts kind of flip back and forth, but in total, they're usually about 85 to 87%. So the state share changes along with property tax. So that offsets it. So, and then the federal is usually around 2%, and the local sales tax makes up 11% of our revenue. Okay, so then this is the year-over-year expenditures. So the current year we're in, the fiscal year 24 revised budget compared to the fiscal year 25 preliminary. And you can see that we are $1.9 million. We have a $1.9 million reduction. And this savings is mainly due to the consolidation of the buildings and the associated operating costs. You'll see that under operation and maintenance, we are saving about $483,000.
That's all because of the consolidation?
Yes.
How, sorry, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
I see the special education budget is decreasing considerably.
Yes, so that, the current is based on what we are, our current run rate. So this year's budget is going to end up in line with that. So the 2.8 million, we are actually going to end up in fiscal year 24 less than that. So
it's just rolling over then?
It's not rolling over, it's just that I believe we had staffing, different staffing.
Okay, let me take a shot at this. Special education, that's the budget for 2024, not actuals?
Yes, it's the revised.
Actuals came in quite a bit lower.
Okay.
And so the preliminary budget for this year is tracking the actuals we experienced last year.
It would have been helpful to have the actual on there.
We don't quite have an actual because we have 2 more months, this month and next month. So
this year we're expecting to have an actual close to 2.5.
Yes.
And so we're just using that number for next year.
We're not just using that number. This budget was actually built on our entire staffing plan for next year, employees that were returning. It was built at that detail level. So.
And so that budget's based on being fully staffed then for
Yes.
special ed.
Yes. So next we have the budget by program. So you can see that instructional, special ed, and school admin total 64%, which is, this is for fiscal year 25 budget, which compares to fiscal year 24. It's the same percentages that we're allocating to those programs. And all of the percentages are pretty much the same. Operation and maintenance decreased 1%, but everything else is pretty much in line with prior years. And now we have the same expense information, but by budget category. So the salaries and benefits is 75%. Purchase services, 11%. Supplies, 7%. Equipment and property, 2%. And other is 5%. So you can see most of our budget is salary and benefits. Purchase services includes contracted transportation, software and internet services, utilities, auditing fees, or just various things that are purchase services. And some of them have rate increases. 5% rate increase is what we're assuming for utilities. Any questions on that one?
Look, just going back to that last page, so the bigger pie chart page. So you said that the percentages are staying the same except for the site and facilities, which is decreased, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So the instructional portion of the chart includes, what does that include? Is that just instructional? Because on the page before that, we have it decreasing.
Instructional is the total instructional cost on the prior page, which was 9.8 million as a percentage to the total budget, 23.1 million. So
the total budget is decreasing at the same rate, so that the decrease in instructional cost is the same percentage for the new budget.
Right, the whole pie got smaller.
Yeah.
But the percentages and slices didn't change much.
Right. So if you look at this page, the fiscal year 25 budget, those percentages are based on taking each of the numbers. So special ed, 2.5% divided by the total 23.1 to get their percentage of the total budget. So if you add up all the percentages on this page, it's 100%. So it's just showing how the total budget for fiscal year 25 is allocated between the programs.
Yeah, I get that. It's just
okay.
a fun coincidence that the whole budget shrunk, percentage-wise.
Yeah, the budget shrank, but we didn't distribute it any different than any other year. You know what I mean? So okay, so are we good on this one, the budget by category? And then we have our fiscal year 25 sales tax. In the chart on the bottom, you're going to see the breakout of the portion that the charter school is allocated, and then the district, and then the total. So our total budget is 3.2 million. We take the 3.2 and exclude the 719,000 COP lease payments before we allocate it to the charter. So they're paid 2.5 million times their pupil percentage of the district.
So I was going to ask that because it looks like they're getting, according to this budget, 20.2% of the sales tax.
Yes.
But on the per pupil page, they actually represent 24.4% of the students. So shouldn't they be getting 24.4?
No, because they don't get, we have to pay the COP lease payment before we allocate to them. So that's why we take 3.2, take out the the COP lease.
Right.
Brings it down to 2.5, and then they get their percentage of the 2.5.
Right, but
And it's actually not the 24%. That percentage is their funded pupil count percentage. What we are estimating next year, they are going to be at 25.9% of the actual student count for the entire district.
Okay.
Yeah, so that one's based on their actual student count. Not the funded with the 5-year average.
Right, but you're saying that the percentage is based on their per pupil count, which you just said was 25% of the total district population?
Yeah, 25.9.
Okay, so then shouldn't they?
After lease payments.
After lease
Yeah, you
payments,
guys remember
shouldn't they
the
be?
after lease.
Right.
So the calculation is the 3.2 minus 719 brings you down to 2.5 million.
Right.
Times the 25.93%. Gives you the 652,000.
I just thought you had said that the percentage of the sales tax they get is based on the percentage of the students they represent in the district.
Yes, it's 25.93.
Right, but we're only giving them 20%. So it's not based on.
They're getting 20% of the 3.2 million sales tax because they're not getting 719,000.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It comes off the top.
It comes off the
We
top.
provide the rest, yes.
So we are allocating them 25.93% of 2.5 million.
Okay.
And then what the sales tax is being used for, 70% is educator salaries and benefits. Then we have another big portion is the COP lease payment, 22%. And then we have about 2% in other areas, facilities and maintenance, safety and security, technology, and innovative programming. So the majority of it is used for salaries and benefits, 70%. Okay, so the next step is by May 31st, you will receive the proposed budget, be submitted to the board. And then on June 12th, which is our regular board meeting, we will have the public hearing. And the budget will be submitted for adoption. And it needs to be adopted by June 30th. And then the fiscal year will begin on July 1st.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did we lose David?
I think he's back on.
Nope, I'm back.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Salt. I thought you were waiting for her to vacate the podium.
I was waiting to have my name called.
Mr. Salt, you're up.
Thank you. So here are some updates from the elementary consolidation. First one that I want to mention is we've heard lots of rumors out in the community. There is no intended use for Gateway next year. We're wanting to wait a year to see what kind of how our enrollment numbers fluctuate. And then that way, if we need to go back and reutilize the building, we can. Otherwise, it gives us time to really process what the best opportunities are for the district to use. We've heard some really creative and really great ideas for usage of that building, but we're not ready to make any kind of determination at this point. We're going to let the dust settle a little bit before we engage anywhere else. So no Gateway usage for the next year. The next topic I wanted to touch on was place. I know we had a comment earlier today. So my notes out so I can make sure I actually say the right thing. So, and this will be for elementary sped overall. Each building will have a non-categorical center-based pre-K program. So instead of having the EC place that we currently have, it will be a non-categorical center-based program. That's why I had to check my notes to make sure I actually got the right words written here, or spoken. K6 place will be at Columbine Elementary. And then Columbine will also maintain their existing AN program, and Summit will maintain their existing SSN program. So Summit and Columbine will maintain the current SPED programming. Columbine will add K6 place, and then each building will add the pre-K program. Any questions on that?
Have you figured out where in the building at Columbine, how many students does that represent?
I don't have that number on me. The PLACE program is fairly small. They've talked rooms with Marcy from UPass BOCES as far as kind of where things lay. We're letting the principals decide how that works. I think part of that will be based off of enrollment, which is towards the bottom of the slide. So once we know better what that room utilization needs to be based off of the enrollment numbers, we'll have a better idea of where that goes. I believe, I don't remember the room number, I believe it's on the lower level, close to where the current SPED programming is at Columbine, because then they'll have access to the playground similar to what.
Right, so there's 2 rooms there right now?
Yes, and so that's about as much as I'm gonna be able to speak without Ginger being here. Like I said, we're leaving that to the building leaders to figure out where best to place those programs, and they're working with BOCES to make sure everything's where it needs to be.
Okay.
Timeline, boxes are en route to Gateway. Some have been delivered and some more are coming. The intent is for them to have everything room-wise that needs to be packed up and moved to the new buildings by the end of the school year. And then we'll actually move those late June, early July. We're focusing on the middle school, move over to the high school first, and then we'll have the rest of July and early August to be able to move that out. I put kind of late June because we don't know when exactly we'll start moving some of that material, but it could be as early as late June and then into July to actually get the rooms and all the other furnishings moved to the new buildings where they'll be. The equipment we're talking about, school furniture, we've already had Ms. Slocum and Ms. Rexford walk through and pull out or set aside additional furnishings that are not currently in use to mark what they need. Some of it will be replacing existing furnishings, bookcases that are a little bit newer than what they currently have, those types of things. And they've tagged them all of what needs to go where. Classroom materials and the actual teacher stuff will have boxed up, and our team will move those to the appropriate rooms once we'll have all of those labeled and say, go to Columbine room 211, and then we'll move it over there. And then curriculum and supplies, additional curriculum will be from Gateway, will be sent to the other schools as needed for the enrollment numbers that they have. And then any additional materials we brought here to the central office, we've got a room set aside to help store some of this so that we can replenish it as we go and make sure that we maintain that.
Can I ask a question there before
Absolutely.
you move on? Sorry. So this, I suppose this is more just addressing community concerns and perhaps rumors, we can call it, that there's concern in the community that curriculum and classroom materials have been thrown out already. And that it would be material that could still be used going forward, right? Not like, obviously we have new reading curriculum, so that maybe wouldn't be used, but science and math and that kind of thing. Is there any validity to that? Are we pulling all of that stuff over?
There's no validity that I'm aware of. We've heard rumors in a couple of buildings, and what I'll tell you is the instructions to all of the building leaders has been, we're not throwing away anything that we can possibly use somewhere else. Okay. It's pretty common for us to bring in big giant dumpsters at the end of the year because there is a lot of trash and manipulation that needs to go on. And so we'll actually continue that practice here, which I know that's causing some concern. They see the big dumpsters and we're talking about that. That is not intended for usable things. That we have a policy for asset disposal, it's required with being a tax-funded entity. And so we have made sure that that asset disposal policy has gotten into the hands of each of the building leaders and reference that so that everyone knows and can disseminate the proper information for how we need to manage curriculum, furnishings, desks, et cetera, as we move forward.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity to do so. And then the last bullet that I have on here is room allocation depends on enrollment. The reason why I put this on here is we still have a significant number of our community members who have not enrolled for next year, and it makes it really difficult for us to plan how we need to do room allocations and staffing for different grade levels when we don't know which kids are coming. So if you haven't enrolled yet, please enroll so that we can continue down the right path. I was asked by Ginger to put this in, so I put it in here for her to make my plug.
Do you have an idea of how many outstanding students, like how many of the expected students have not yet enrolled?
So I don't have numbers this week. I had numbers kind of early last week, and it was around 400 students that had not enrolled yet.
Okay.
I don't know what that delta has been over the last week and a half.
If they all enroll, we have room for them all?
Absolutely.
And then my other question, enrollment related, is about the pre-K program. So I know we were talking about that a little bit earlier. I was just curious. I know initially, as a parent of a pre-K child, that most, if not all, the children were put on a wait list. I know they've come out and told a lot of the parents that they have space for them now. I'm just curious if we still have families and children waiting on that pre-K wait list.
I have not spoken with Ms. Kenyon about the pre-K enrollment. She's the director of that program, and she works directly with Ginger on that, so I have not been involved in those conversations. So I don't know the answer to that.
Would we be able to get those numbers? I think that's important.
I'll get you the information. That's in report.
Yeah. And then maybe also a comparison to how many people we've had to wait list in the past.
Maybe harder to get, but let's see.
Any other questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other reports, operations reports?
The board reports.
Any comments from the board? Go ahead.
So in the spirit of our Teacher Appreciation Week, I did want to give a shout out to the teachers of my children who are all at Columbine. So we have Miss Allie Brown, who has my pre-K. We have Miss Schumacher, who has my kindergartner, and Miss Ricks, who has my third grade student. And my kids absolutely love their teachers, and I just want to give them a special shout out for how well they communicate what's happening in their classrooms, the different projects they're working on, the opportunities to come in and participate as a parent, as well as addressing any issues that arise promptly so that it can be addressed. So thank you. We love you. That was that. And then I did just have one other point, but if you want to circle around. Okay. So the only other thing I wanted to call out was to make a request that we set a date for a work session to discuss Superintendent Witt's annual review. Technically, we're currently out, or we're close to being out of compliance. We're supposed to have that done by the end of this month per our board policy. I know there was discussed about having it tonight, but with board members out, we wanted to push that back. But I just wanted to call out that we should also have a work session prior to the official review to make sure that we're all on the same page on the different goals and criteria that we're actually reviewing him on, and make sure we're on the same page and that that's all set ahead of time. So I think a work session would be the proper forum for that. And then also just to call out that as per Mr. Witt's contract, we do also need to have before June 1st specific performance metrics that he is supposed to achieve for the next school year. So we need to do both of those things before June 1st.
We are working on that process now. I mean, it has already begun.
Who's we?
I am working on it, and I've asked some questions out there from the administration about this. I am working on that, and I will consult with the rest of the board as this process goes along. But I don't think we can meet that June 1st deadline based on what now possibly we can. I mean, we've still got some time, but we would want to finalize this at our board meeting on the 12th, I believe. I think it's the 12th.
Where's the 12th? Yes.
And so I am working through that, and I will keep you all apprised of it. And there will be facets to it. I mean, I've been seeking out from other school districts and from other people that have been. We have not done an evaluation of a superintendent, so I am out hitting the streets to see what others have done, and we'll formulate a plan to proceed ahead. And we may make June 1st.
Right. Well, we could have a special board meeting to make sure that we are in compliance with the contract that we approved. And then I would also just say, this should be a board process, not just you as the president. All of us as a board should come together and do this. So
totally agree.
And working in human resources, I do have experience in preparing for and administrating annual reviews. So I'm willing. I do have materials ready to hand out to you all. I'll send you an email.
Do that,
with
please.
that, so we can get that going.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you.
Yep. So can we set a work session?
I'm not prepared to do that yet. I mean, honestly, we can soon. But I just got information via email today to take a look at of one possible option. So I don't want to set a date yet.
But the work session is where we decide those things. So you don't need to decide anything ahead of time. The work session is where we decide that. That's what the work sessions are for the board to get together to discuss things, not vote on anything, but to discuss it and figure out how we're going to proceed. We don't have to pick a date right now. We can send emails to pick a date, but can we agree that we will set a work date?
Yes, we can, but I don't want to commit a date tonight. We've got people that aren't here, but we will meet that criteria. I can tell you that.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you. We had a great UPES meeting on the 30th of April, which Marcy Palmer and I signed her contract for another year. We're very excited for her to help us go through this transition, since she's been in the district for many, many, many years and is an awesome special ed director. And I just wanted to share that with the public, that she has agreed to stay on for another year. And I'd like Mick to just share a little bit about the DAC meeting that was last night. It was an awesome meeting.
Yes, it was.
Can you speak to that?
Well, it was the final DAC meeting of the year. We did small roundtables and small groups and answered some questionnaires. We had good feedback from each of the groups. There were any number of communications for potential for next year. Ms. Slocum led the meeting and did a very good job. I mean, she did particularly well, and took a lot of notes from what we generated at our roundtables to take into the future. And beyond that, I just thought it was a good recap of the year, and all participants were very involved in that, and we did get some very good feedback. The Miss Slocum's going to go consolidate all of this, and then we'll see what the results are from that. But it was very good.
Are there minutes taken at the DAC meetings?
Yes.
Is it possible for me to get a copy of the minutes?
I'm sure you could.
You know who take, or would you be able to provide this?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're not posted, but I'll find out.
I'm not sure they aren't posted. We can find
I think
out.
they are, but I'll find out.
Thank you.
I only had one other comment at our meeting last month, Ms. Barkley. You questioned the information I put out about the 30-child classroom, and I told you I would look into that. I have looked into that, and there was a lot that went into that, and both the principal and the teacher had lengthy conversations, but the teacher had her input on this. Were you satisfied with the results that were provided to us?
I read through them. I would still say it's up to leadership to make those final decisions. And if parents are unhappy, then they're unhappy with the leadership, not the parent teacher. But
Well, she had a lot to do with that decision. It was a joint decision. Anything else? There being no other business, a motion to adjourn?
so move.
Second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Oh, vote.
Barkley.
Roll call.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Kimbrell.
Aye.
Patterson.
Aye.
Rutherford.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Aiden.
I don't know.